So we're going to start off making our scarf. So to do that, we're going to do something called a long tail cast on, which basically means you're going to measure out a bit of yarn, and that yarn is going to create your stitches, your first row of stitches that you put onto your arm. So the way I like to do it is to think about the finished item and how big I want it to be width-wise. So I'm going to do a scarf today, so I'm going to make it a nice chunky wide scarf, okay? And then once you've got that measurement, you want to multiply that by about 3, just to be on the safe side. Sometimes add a little bit extra for luck. So 1, 2, 3, okay? If it was going to be a blanket, then I'd say measure out the width of the blanket and go about 3 times of that. So then you get to the point that you've measured to. And right here, we're going to create what's called a slip knot, which is going to end up being your first stitch. So you're going to take your yarn in left and right hands, and then you're going to do right over left to make a loop. Can you see that? And then you pop your hand through the loop and pick up the yarn on one side and pull it through. So you've got the loops come through like that, okay? And then I'm going to pull on the tail, and that will tighten it nicely for me. So that's about wrist size. So I'm going to slide that on to my wrist like that. And that is our first stitch. Hooray! Now then, the next bit, casting on, everybody in my workshops tells me is the trickiest bit, and I get people looking at me with like white faces, and they sit there and they drink their Prosecco and they look really scared and they wonder what they've signed up for. But I promise you, once you get into the swing of it, it's actually fine. So don't panic. Right then, so to cast on your stitches, you've got your loop on your arm. I've got my ball of wool on the table, and I'm going to have the tail hanging in my lap like that. So it's the tail's closest to me. I'm going to go around like this so you can see. So the tail's closest to me, and the wool is ahead of me, in front of me like that. And what I do is I take my left hand and I do scissor fingers with my left hand, okay? And I'm going to go down and I'm going to pick up the working yarn, if you like, so the yarn that is attached to the ball that we're going to be creating the scarf from. So I do 2 fingers like that, and then I use my thumb, which is pointing towards me at this point, to come down, scoop down and pick up the tail, okay? Can you see that? There we go. So my right hand is still just hanging around here doing nothing, and my left hand is doing all the complicated stuff, okay? So it's picking up the working yarn at the back with my scissor fingers. It's got the tail hanging over the front, okay, of my thumb. And then when I cross my hand over like that, if I put my right across my left, I hope this is going to come out the right direction on the video. It might be a mirror image, but you're going to go across like that, and you'll see that my thumb is now inside a loop that's been created by crossing that yarn over like that. So you're going to go up and under and through that loop that's been created, so that your hands brush past each other, and then your hand that's just gone through that loop is going to grab hold of the yarn at the back, and the loop that's on my thumb, I'm just going to pull that off my hand and drop it. And as you can see in my hand now, if I give it a shake, is another loop, and that loop is my next stitch. So I'm going to slide that on and then pull on the tail to tighten, okay? Now, really important with arm knitting is managing how loose or tight these stitches are. So to make a throw, you might put 12 or 14 stitches on your arm, and you can see how chunky it is. It's going to take up quite a lot of space on your arm. So you need to be comfortable with that. You can wiggle these up to your elbow, okay? That's if you're doing something large like a throw. But because I'm doing a scarf, I'm only going to put 4 stitches on here. So I'm not too worried that this is going to be too tight or too loose. It's absolutely fine, just snug like that. So let's put the last 2 stitches on. So scissor fingers on my left hand, I'm going to pick up the working yarn. My thumb pointing towards me is going to scoop down and pick up the tail, okay? And then I'm going to cross over, creating a loop around this thumb here, my left thumb, and I'm going to go all the way around and up and under through that loop. Pick up the yarn at the back, drop the loop off the top, and there's my next stitch. I'll just pull that on and pull on the tail to tighten. Okay, and last one, scissor fingers picks up the working yarn at the back, the thumb at the front scoops down and picks up the tail. So if I do it around this way, it's very difficult to get the right camera angle. And then I'm going to cross over and go up and under the loop by my thumb, grab the working yarn, drop the loop off my right hand, leaving me with a loop in my hand there. I'm going to pull on the tail, which is now much shorter, as you can see. There we go. So I've now got 4 stitches. 4 stitches on here, okay? And that is casting on, okay?